happened there?
So if you look at my charging documents say that I brandished a knife at a police officer in the rotunda. What is happening right there is they are kettling the rotunda. They are pushing people out of the rotunda. What the officers don't know is that on the other side of the building, other side of the door that they're pushing us out of in a foyer, there is a door leading out of the Capitol where protesters are flowing in, creating this massive bottleneck. Nobody can move, and we're all being crushed. You can imagine like the stories of like a concert fire where people are trying to escape and they're being trampled. That's what it was like. We were being pushed by a line all the way across the rotunda of officers that were about 3 or 4 deep, and they were all pushing us on us with their riot shields, and people were being crushed all around me. Um, I was trying to hold myself up to prevent people behind me from being crushed, and all of a sudden, I'm yanked out of that crowd. And this is me on the floor after I'm yanked out of that crowd because some officer, and what we found out when we went to trial, we proved it in trial, was there was a gentleman behind me that picks up a pocket knife off the floor, hands it over my head to the officer in front of me, and I get mistaken for that guy. So I'm getting ripped out of that crowd, and here I am on the floor. And what they're telling me is they're telling me to get back up and to go back the way I came. And I'm asking them, why are you trying to put me back into this conflagration that I just got myself out of? You just pulled me out of this. I can see a door to my right that there's completely clear. I don't have to go back the way I just came. I don't have to be crushed anymore. And all I'm saying is why? And this exchange lasts. And there's literally an officer in front of me with a guy a baton getting ready to hit me with it. And for some reason they stop and they leave me in the floor and they let me sit there. And for that, I got my civil disorder charge.
Let me ask you this. So the charges, I'm reading this off the internet. It says you received a 15-month prison sentence, 24
Right.
months of supervised release, and was ordered to pay $2,000 in restitution.
Right.
It says, according to court documents and evidence presented in the trial, Kenyon entered the Capitol building through the Upper West Terrace door, 2:36 p.m. Boy, they know the exact moment, the exact minute. On January 6th, he proceeded to the Rotunda, Statuary Hall, and the House wing, joining a crowd of rioters outside the House chamber. Then he made your way to the third floor, entering the House Appropriations Committee room. You were escorted by Capitol police officers. However, instead of exiting the building and returned to the Rotunda, where he resisted and pushed law enforcement officers attempting to clear the area. Anyhow, la-di-da-di-da. So what were the charges? What were the charges then that they eventually hit you with?
So I got all the misdemeanors that everybody else got, irregular remaining, basic trespassing charges. I got a misdemeanor disorderly conduct charge and parading, which is like protesting out loud inside a government building. I got the civil disorder charge, and then I got the 20-year obstruction of an official proceeding charge. So originally, back in 2023, I was offered a plea deal to drop all the charges and plead guilty to the obstruction charge, which would have put me in prison for about 3 years. I decided that I wasn't willing to lie for the government, and I decided I was going to take it to trial. And at that time, this is well before 1512 had reached the Supreme Court, I fully expected to be convicted, and I fully expected to be going to prison for 5 to 6 years, but I was just not willing to lie, and I wasn't willing to sacrifice the things that I believed in. I couldn't do that to myself. I knew I would have regretted that choice for the rest of my life. And I'd rather stay in prison for 5 to 6 years than to feel that way for the rest of my life.
So they wanted you to plea deal for a 3-year prison sentence.
Right.
And threatened you with 5 or 6 if you didn't, right?
Right. Yeah.
How long did you stay in prison?
I wasn't in prison. My trial was in March of 2024. My verdict didn't happen until October of 2024, and your next guess is the sole reason why this took so long, because I had a bench trial and going through that process. the judge did not rule on my case until October of 2024, which then pushed my sentencing to 10 days before the inauguration. I was sentenced 10 days before and was expected to report to prison within the next few weeks.
Wow.
But then I had the pardon, and
Well,
I did not have to report.
How long would you have had to serve? Let's say Trump didn't win in 2024. Let's say, Kamala won. How long would you be in prison then?
And honestly, I didn't think he was going to win. I 100% believed that Trump was not going to be allowed to win. I was shocked that he won.
Yeah, thank God he did. Right.
I thought either they were going to kill him or they were going to cheat again. So he won. And so if I'd have gone, my prison sentence was 15 months. If I'd have gone to prison, I would probably have done about 11 to 12 months of that, maybe a little less.
Wow, that's something else. Hey, before I go to our other guest here tonight, I just want to give you guys a little bit of a chance to ask Jay a question if you have something, Brian. I know you were out there because you were sitting right behind me on the bus out there, so I know you were there.
Yes. So, thank you so much, Jay. When I went there, I mentioned this a little earlier that when I listened to Trump, and as soon as Trump was finished, I headed toward the Capitol. So, but by the time I got there, I could only make it to the street. I mean, there were so many people there. So that told me that the whole event started a lot earlier than, Trump was still speaking or he hadn't even showed up to speak. So it couldn't have been, Donald Trump that was, telling people to, go inside the building, as they said. So, did you listen to Trump speak?
I did. That's a huge point to make. I was way in the back. Like I was back by the Washington Monument. I didn't get a go list. But when Trump said that we're going to peacefully march to the Capitol, we started walking. What none of us knew that 15, 30 minutes before that speech was over with, a group of rioters had already broke into the Capitol, and in the process of doing so, they've removed every single barricade, all the snow fencing, anything that would have stopped a protester from getting all the way to the Capitol. We're going to what we think is another permitted event, and so we're just walking and we're just following the person in front of us. Right. And so we end up all the way to, and I double timed it because I wanted to see Trump speak. That's why I got all the way to the front. And then secondly, I started hearing the rumors that, and this is one, so the crowd got agitated for two reasons. One, they got agitated because the rumors spread to the crowd saying that the certification process was over with, everything was done, and none of our arguments got heard. So people were angry about that. When they get there and they're protesting the fact that everything's over with, because there was no mention or no announcement that this was now a riot, that this is a unlawful assembly, they just started attacking. So they're just shooting people with rubber bullets in the crowd and launching tear gas and flashbangs, and nobody understands what's going on. And so people are agitated because of that. Nobody went in that building to stop anything. You're not going to stop like we were there to support the Eastman plan, which was to kick that certification back down to the states for 15 days to allow them to conduct a signature verification forensic audit of the votes to prove that this was legit. So why the heck are we going to go in the Capitol and stop that? That doesn't make any sense.
No, to me, it was a big setup, and I agree with you 100%. Like, I got to the steps of the Capitol, I couldn't get inside because there was just too many people. But I was there with the big crowd, but there were no barricades. There was nothing stopping us from getting any closer. Let me go to our other guest here because I want to hear from you, Joseph. Thank you for being a part of this here tonight, all the way from Jonestown, PA. Like I said, Pennsylvania was the state for Trump to win. We had to pull PA. So thanks for all your efforts with that. Let me just kind of go and ask you the same thing that I asked Jay. Okay, so what led up to going in, and how did you get in, and things like that. Just give us a little background.
Yeah, well, when Trump was talking, while he was still talking, my buddy and I, we actually walked back to the metro. And we actually left Washington, and we went back to what I think it's called New Carlton. I got in my car, and I got a phone call from my daughter, or a text message to call her, and she had said, "Hey, there's something going on at the Capitol," and she said all I could get out of her was a big hullabaloo. So my buddy and I decided to drive back into D.C. We got a parking spot. We walked up to the front steps. I proceeded. It was pretty full at the Columbus doors. Those steps in front of the Columbus doors.
I want to preface. I want to preface something for everybody because I wasn't aware of this. But you were saying that you did not enter the Capitol from this side,
No.
and I forgot. There's two sides to the Capitol, so you were on the other side. Were there many people on the other side?
Yeah, I never saw anything. I never saw that side of the building. There were people there. There were a lot of people already walking away, and I got the feeling as I showed up, I got the feeling that I was kind of late for the dance, to be honest with you. And I stood on the front steps, and then I worked my way up the side of the steps, and I got to the top, and I started videoing. At that point, I noticed the crowd was slowly walking into the building, unimpeded. I followed the crowd. I wasn't sure I wanted to go in or not, but by the time I decided, the police had, at that point, I kind of got caught into the funnel of the people going in, and I realized I probably couldn't turn around and go backwards anymore because there was too many people behind me pushing, and just being behind you. The police sprayed some pepper spray or OC spray over top of the crowd to my left, at which point the spin drift of the spray circled back around behind us. Myself and a group of about 5 of us lunged forward to get away from it. At that point, we entered through the threshold of the Capitol at the Columbus doors. While I was on the ground, I picked up a pair of handcuffs. I stood up. I gave them to some police there in front of me. I told them I was a police officer, and I proceeded to chat with them for about, 4.5 minutes. One point, one of the police officers behind the 2 I were talking to, he decided to spray me. He told me he was going to do it. I didn't think he would. And at that point there, I couldn't breathe. I hit the ground, and I kind of split between an officer with a shield and the officer I was talking to, and I hit the ground. And I thought, I'm probably going to die here because I just couldn't breathe. I was discombobulated for a little while.
Why did they spray you, Joseph? Why did he spray you? And here's a picture of the only picture I could find here. That's you with the baseball cap. Yeah.
So there was actually a police officer in between. The guy in the dark hair was a police officer or of some type, might have been security, and he had the shield, and he kept whacking me with the shield, and I'm trying to explain to him how I can't go anywhere. Meanwhile, I was talking to another police officer in between, and the bald police officer who's to my right, and it was in the process after I kind of scolded the one guy for hitting me with the shield for no reason, and when I looked back, the other officers. So I don't know if he thought I was getting belligerent because I was scolding that officer for whacking me with the shield, or what his reasons were. But I do know the only people the crowd would let back out through the entrance were people who were sprayed. So in all reality, I was kind of glad he sprayed me afterwards, when I figured out how things were operating. But altogether, I think I was in the building for about 5 minutes, maybe 5.5 minutes tops. And I didn't make it any more than maybe 10 or 12 feet, according to my attorneys. That's what they calculated. And then I left, and I tried to look for my buddy. So, I might have been on the front steps for another 20, 25 minutes looking for my friend who never went inside. I ended up getting arrested by the FBI on February 19th, which was a Friday.
So, wait, what year? Just February
2021.
2021. So you were arrested quite quickly after that. They come to your house? They must have come to your house, yeah.
Yes, they came to my house with my chief, and there was about 11 or 12 agents, 2 snipers. It was snowy that day, I do remember that, and they came at about 8 o'clock in the morning, and I had just gotten off of working a late shift, and I only got home at probably 3:30 in the morning, got to bed at 5 o'clock. So I was dead to the world when they were knocking on the door. So they were a little annoyed that I didn't answer the door right away. And plus, we have an old farmhouse. You don't hear the door knock, somebody knocking at the door anyways. But yeah, so they arrested me there. You know, I might have been a little belligerent during the arrest, but I was not violent in any way whatsoever. And then I did 5 days. I was arraigned and did 5 days in Dauphin County Prison until my preliminary hearing. At the preliminary hearing, it was deemed that I could go home under supervision of an ankle monitor. So I went home for 24 hours. I was on an ankle monitor. And then the following day, I had another hearing in front of a judge from D.C., and she determined that I didn't have to have the ankle monitor. And then she put me on restrictions for probation with federal probation or federal supervision, and where I couldn't leave the state. Some of those things were relaxed a little bit, but I maintained that up until the time of my pardon or till the charges were dismissed.
Real quick, what were the charges? And you said they were dropped eventually after all of this,
Yeah.
after all this you had to go through. What were the charges?
Correct. It was the same thing Jay was charged with. Most everything there, except I was charged with violence with inside the Capitol, which carries a 15-year sentence, and I was also charged with the 1512 C2 obstruction of Congress or obstructions of official proceedings. And the judge in my case, Judge Carl Nichols, he was the one originally that dismissed. He found that the 1512 he felt it was not applicable. And he dismissed that and 2 other charges, which were low-grade misdemeanors. The DOJ appealed it, and they asked him to reconsider. He did reconsider. He did put the 2 small misdemeanors back on my charges, but he left the 1512 off. It then went to the appeals process, which we lost in the appeals process 2-1. And at that point there, the ruling, the way it went down and the way it was worded, it pretty much relieved me of that 1512, even though I lost it in the appeals. But the way it was worded, my attorney said it'd be almost impossible for them to convict me of that now, based on the interpretation of especially Justice Pan of the appeals court. And so then the decision was, do we still continue to aggrieve and appeal this 1512, at which point we did. And the Supreme Court did agree to hear us, and in 2024 it happened. They heard us, and a couple weeks later they came back 6-3 in our favor, which we were excited about, and not so much for me, because I don't think it would have affected me anymore, but because it would have affected a lot of people, a lot of other J6ers. So we were very happy about that.
And there's some J6ers who have been in there for 4 years, I understand. For 4 years. What a crime! What an absolute crime that is! It's disgusting, and I hope we get to the bottom of it. That they're finger pointing at Pelosi. There's finger pointing at Liz Cheney, and I hope Trump and Kash Patel get to the bottom of this, because that was a complete and total injustice. What happened?
Well, I could say this: if this administration does not get to the bottom of it, I'm going to be very, very disappointed. And I would say the fact of not getting to the bottom of it is just about as bad as what the Democrats and the mainstream media have perpetrated with their lies. So I really do feel strong that Trump and his team need to get the truth out and totally vindicate our actions of that day.
Yeah, absolutely. Do that.
100%. Yep.
Jonathan, you have anything you want to might want to ask.
I
Joseph.
do. I have some comments I'd like to make, and I want to start with something that I think is fundamental, and I hope that everybody listening understands to their core. If somebody were to try to stop me from entering my home, they better darn well have a really good reason why. And one of the things that sticks in my craw is this concept of trespassing. There's a reason that the property that these people were entering is called the people's house. It's our property. It belongs to the people of the United States. And with very rare exception, it is absolutely permitted for anybody to enter. And the whole concept, we can get into all the just ridiculousness of the fiasco. We've seen video of police waving people in and saying, come on, enter, come on this way, and flagging people in and stuff. It's easy for those of us who actually pay attention to get into the discussion of entrapment. But as a fundamental starting point, we've lost the way if we allow people to think of our capital, and that includes our state capitals, as somehow some sort of occupied territory of enemies, and we have to beg and plead and ask permission. That's not how it works. That is absolutely a fundamentally broken concept. And it irks me, the number of people who think that people like these two gentlemen entering the property and going into the Capitol was somehow some sort of dramatic breach of something. It wasn't. It was absolutely what is spelled out in the way that our system of government works. They were entering the people's house, and they had good reason in most people's opinion. When you get into the flaws and issues and errors, the stop the steal movement, even wait a minute, I went too far. Hold on, let me back up a step here. Even if they just thought randomly, even if there were no evidence of issues with the 2020 election, that is irrelevant. The fact that they saw fit to go to that property is in and of itself justification for them to enter the property, unless told that the property was closed and that they were not permitted to enter. None of that happened. And so everything that flowed from that is complete fiction and nonsense. One other thing that I want to put in there, and that's just a comment, and love your feedback on that as well, because I get the sense everybody I talk to who's a J6er feels exactly the same way. Like, what are you talking about? That's my capital. That's my building. I'm allowed to go in there. And it really drives me nuts, the people who don't recognize that. So the other thing that I want to throw in, just for a little perspective, and I love your comments on this, is I believe that the primary reason that J6 happened, played out the way that it did, and the way that it turned into this crazy steady drumbeat of conspiracy, this fear factor that the media and politicians have perpetrated, is to drive a scare tactic. And to draw an analogy, we saw the Attorney General during the Biden administration refer to people who were willing to go to school board meetings as domestic terrorists, quote unquote. I believe that the intention behind both of them is the same. It's to try to stop people from being willing to ask questions, to challenge narrative, and to go and stand up for our own rights. I believe that J6 is in the worse, but the same general category as the efforts to try and put a chill on we the people going and challenging our rights and trying to assert ourselves.
Yeah. Well, let me get both of their opinions. Let me go over to Jay. Hey, Jay. Hey, what? This was a scare tactic. That's what he's asking. I mean, it probably did scare the hell out of you, right? Them coming, arresting you and all of that. What was your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't disagree at all. If most of us J6ers had the same experience with what we saw while we were there, and then going home and then watching the news and hearing what was being said about us, that we were domestic terrorists, that we were insurrectionists, that we were trying to overthrow a government. I think it was a scare tactic, but I think overwhelmingly it was their attempt to destroy the MAGA movement. I think this was their way to destroy. I mean, I think it was a complete setup, but I think overall they were trying to destroy the MAGA movement through public opinion. And they could have succeeded, but I don't think they did. I think that J6 was, it's just, I don't really get how they keep doing this and thinking that this is going to work, but you could be on social media and just see the lies that these propagandists will repeat over and over and over from, the Trump is a racist and the Charlottesville comments for years and years and years, and we know that's not true. But low-hanging fruit will believe that for a period of time. But I think J6 was like a huge eye-opening event for the American people. And I think that J6, I believe that we were pivotal, and we played a very important role in Trump being reelected in 2024. I think the American people seeing what these folks did to us, I saw it as a, I would have been okay. Like, I would have probably pled guilty to just some stupid misdemeanor trespassing charge, but that's not the way it was being treated. We had people, even with the trespassing charge, you were being sentenced to 6 months in prison. Even though you never convicted a crime in your entire life, you trespassed into a building, and now all of a sudden you're going to prison for 6 months. That is insane. It's weaponization. It was meant to destroy the MAGA movement. I don't think it worked. I think that we won the 2024 election because
thank God for that. Yeah, thank God for that. Hey, Joseph, what about you? A scare tactic? It's got to be if they're showing up at your house 8 o'clock in the morning with guns drawn and stuff and arresting you. That's got to be a hell of a scare tactic for you, right?
Yeah, it was a scare tactic, I believe. Also, I don't want to reveal my source. But one of the people who were involved in that raid had made comments that they felt as though when they were coming out to my house, that there was a good chance they were going to murder me. They had that feeling by words of the main agent in charge. He told the snipers, he makes any movements, drop him.
That's insane. What for a trespassing charge? They're just going to kill you, huh?
That person said they actually cried and pled to the FBI the whole way out to my house. Now, one of the things I guess fear probably was a factor, and I was more fearful after I got in jail, not because of. It was simply just because I didn't know what was going on. I'm in jail. I'm a police officer in jail. I can handle my own. I wasn't worried about that. I was worried about what was going on at home. What was the FBI doing to my wife and my family? And that was my fear. But I kind of, there's a fight or flight or freeze. I was kind of ready to fight at that point from the very beginning. And, because I believed wholeheartedly that from the first instant that they came here, that this was total bullshit, and I never felt in a million years I would ever get arrested for it. Guys I worked with in the county, other police officers, they all joked around like, "Hey, dude, man, the FBI's coming for you," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure, ha." And I just thought, okay, they're going to go arrest people who knocked over stuff, who stole stuff, who broke windows. That's the kind of stuff they're going to do. They're not going to arrest somebody for being 10 feet inside the Capitol talking to two cops. But I think getting back to what Jonathan said, I agree exactly. But I think the message was, it could have been a bumper sticker. If you're a Republican, if you're a conservative, if you're a MAGA, or if you're just not liberal, shut up and stay in your lane. That's it.
Yep.
We don't care that you're MAGA. We don't care, but shut up.
Yeah. No.
You know your role. Shut up and behave. And
Well, if Trump had lost, that's what they'd be doing us. I'm going to go to Leonard here in just a second. Brian, do you have anything you want to ask? I know you were out there that day.
Yeah, I was.
They're coming for you too, Brian. They're coming for you.
Well, they've already knocked on my door. I've already been interviewed by 4 FBI agents. So I just have to say, I really feel bad and I have empathy for our two guests and their families. There obviously was a real emotional, physical toll on both of them, but there had to be a real toll on their families, and for that, I really, really feel bad about that. And there had to be an actual financial toll. And I am just so sorry that our federal government has. They're going to have to go a long way to get my respect again, to be honest with you, for what they have done to our two guests and many, many others. They've shown that tyranny can raise its ugly head very, very quickly. And we as citizens have to understand that, and we've got to make sure that we stand up for our rights.
I'm just going to cut to this since you were mentioning about funding. So, Joseph, you set up a GoFundMe or Give, Send, Go or whatever it is here.
Give, Send, Go.
Give, Send, Go. How do they find that? How do they find that? What's it under?
You can go to Give, Send, Go, and Google my name or Jay Sixer with medical bills, and you'll probably see my face there. You can also go on my X account, which is Joseph Fisher. And you could probably find a link there. I have it pinned at the top.
Okay, very good. Very, very good. Let me just get Leonard in here for a minute. Hey, Leonard, how are you?
Doing fine, sir. First of all, let me thank the gentleman for coming on to explain what happened. There's a lot of confusion, on both ends of the spectrum about what really happened because the reporting is a little bit flawed on both sides. So my question to you guys is that if there is not a thorough investigation of what happened to you and some of the other people that were just what I would consider to be innocent, to the extent that what you're telling me, then what are the implications for you as far as the Republican Party? What would that imply to you if there's no investigation?
Well, that's a tough question.
Go ahead, Jerry.
That's a tough question.
I think the implication is how the history books are going to be written for this. Right now the ink's still wet on the history so far, and the Democrats and mainstream media have got to write everything, and it's perpetrating lies for the most part, 90% lies. So if we want our history books to be correct about that day, we have to find out. And if we don't find out, it's going to happen again. We're going to repeat history if they don't find out the truth of what really went down. Because if it went down like I believe it went down, with the government having their dirty little fingers in this, it's entrapment. And it's basically evil. It is absolutely evil. It's un-American and it's treasonous. And all those involved in that should be hung up by their Buster Browns. Okay, I mean it's evil, and we should not allow it.
It's got to be held to pay. And
oh yeah.
And I think I'm finger pointing going back to Pelosi, going back to Liz Cheney, going back to a lot of people like that. But you guys aren't the only ones who were thrown in jail. This is too big. There were too many that were thrown in prison. Trump has got to look into this. I'm sure he will.
For me, I just do not see an option where you cannot investigate this and find the truth. I just can't even go somewhere where we don't get the truth of J6. I'm certain that what happened was a 100% set up from the top down. I think that they created the conditions for J6 to happen. They allowed it to happen, and once it did, they used this as a tool to try to destroy MAGA. And they have literally destroyed my life at this point. And if there is not an investigation, I'm going to be extremely disappointed. I want an official truth. I got lucky. My charges were dismissed because of being so late. I got so many brothers out there who are pardoned, and they are just forgiven felons. They will be felons for the rest of their lives, and their records need to be expunged. Everything should be taken off as if it never happened. And the only way we can do that is if we have a real investigation of J6 and we hold those people accountable who tried to take over and took over our government for 4 years.
Absolutely. Jonathan, you have
So
another comment?
I was just going to ask if I could make a comment on that. And my comment is it's absolutely critical that we get to the bottom of this and investigate, not only for public clarity and for us to understand and hopefully get to a point where we can bring America back together again, because these events, and J6 is key among them, have divided our nation. But equally importantly, it's bullying. And we know what happens with bullies. The people who are doing this, and I believe, as you guys believe, that we have certain people behind it. And I look at Liz Cheney and others like her. We know from all experience that when bad people get away with bad things, they do more bad things, sometimes worse. So I'm going to reference a key expression that a good friend of mine uses. A conservative black friend of mine likes to refer to the sort of communist things that have been done for the past 70 plus years to Black America, as he refers to Black America as the petri dish of communist bad ideas. And the more I hear him say that, the more I think it's true. I look back at what's been done over and over in really bad and harmful ways to specific segments of communities and people to harm, twist, and manipulate. Communism is in and of itself a core bad thing. And when we don't find it and root it out and search for justice, it grows and expands and gets continuously worse. And in this case, it's stepping in and insisting on an actual proper investigation. The fact, and here are just a couple things that I hope people gravitate toward and latch onto. We know, and just to sort of round that out, and hopefully it makes sense to you, I can personally now go back in my mind and I can see certain key points that have destroyed and degraded, in using my friend's reference of the petri dish, Black America, like separating families and going after fathers, etc. In similar circumstance, in a similar way, we can see the intentions and the objectives of bad people who wish to degrade and erode our system of government and our belief in ourselves and our belief in our constitutional rights and values. One of them is this notion that we shouldn't have the right and ability to go and protest and seek redress for our grievances. We should know, and thank goodness we have gentlemen like these two men and all of the people willing to go and stand up for the rights of Americans on J6. So I guess I want to sorry, I got into the weeds there. For me, it seems like a clear sort of parallel in the way that we are attacked. But we need to be more willing and consistently willing to stand up to bullying, ask questions, and insist on investigations and answers. Oh, one other thing, I was making some notes while you guys were talking. If people still believe that J6 was a crime, if we believe that crimes were committed, then we must acknowledge that J6 is probably the most documented thing to ever happen in human history. The fact that we have something like an estimated 440,000 hours of combined video, but for goodness sakes, the people out there who are telling us, including the media, who love video, are telling us that we can't actually view or document or reference that, is complete fiction and utter nonsense. So those are my comments. Thank
Yeah,
you.
very good. Yeah, very good. Well, I'm going to let you guys give a final word here, Jay. Jay, what's your final word that you want to say about this whole event and everything? And again, you're a great patriot. Both of you guys, both you and Joseph, are great patriots, and really, you're not a criminal. You're a patriot. So,
Well, what I would say is, don't forget about us. Our lives have been destroyed. I believe that I went there to, with all the things that was bothering me about what was happening in the world. The main reason I went there is because I was thinking about my children's futures and their children's futures, and I did not want them to live in a world that was being created around me right now. So I was there to stand up for that, and that was the sole reason I was there, to stand up for my kids' futures. I will say, people ask me all the time, do you regret having gone to J6? Do you regret having walked in that building? And I say no. Even if I did not get this pardon, I would still do it all over again, and I would sit in prison right now because that was the right thing to do. So, a lot of us are struggling. We're trying to rebuild our lives. Me and myself, I'm trying to restart and jumpstart my career that's been pretty much on hold for the last 4 years. Have a master's in public administration and in nonprofit management, so I'm looking to further my career. But you have people like Joseph here who people don't quite understand his role in J6. He's the man that threw out 1512, and this man is struggling by far worse than I am right now. He has a very, very serious cancer diagnosis, and he's trying to prepare himself in case things don't work out the way that they should, like we all hope they will for Joseph. So really take a good look at his Give Sig Go, and if you're able to support him, please do that. But just don't forget about us, and if you think you can help out a J6er, or maybe you got an opportunity for them, reach out and let them know, and help us with our healing process, and help make us whole. So yeah, thank you for allowing me to come in here. It's folks like you, they give us a platform to explain what happened in J6 and to ultimately change the overall narrative of what half the country still thinks J6 was.
right. Well, thank you, Jay. Thank you very much for coming on. Really, really appreciate it. I'm glad I was able to connect with both of you. Joseph, I was not aware that the GoFundMe was for, is that for because of a cancer?
It's healthy. I have stage 3 COPD, and it's a very aggressive prostate cancer, and plus other health concerns, but those are the two big ones. And so medical bills and other hardships have hit hard in the last 4 years. So anybody out there that can help financially, I'd appreciate it. Absolutely.
You betcha.
And it's, and I'm really, I could probably live in a Frigidaire box at the bottom of a mountain by a creek, but my wife wouldn't go with me to that box. So,
Yeah.
if something happens to me, I'm a realist, and if something happens to me, I want to be able to leave her, and her health is not the greatest either, but I want to be able to leave her a house and not leave her with the burden which I left her. I had lost my job as a police officer, obviously, when this happened, and I had lost my pension. So I don't even know how we made it, other than by the grace of God, for the past 4 years, and help from some friends and family. But and guys like Jay. But the one request I have too is the people out there. When you're out and about and you're with some of your friends, and maybe some of your liberal friends start talking about politics, and they start talking about, oh yeah, well, January 6th and blah, 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 and the J6ers are insurrectionists, and, please put them in their place. Don't let them get away with it. Don't let them repeat that narrative over and over again. Call them on it.
Yep.
I tell the J6ers I see, and I've only for maybe about the past month or so started talking to people. My attorneys told me, I don't have any contact, so I've been going on X, and I've been talking to all kinds of J6ers and stuff. And the one thing I like to tell them is, hey, just remember, you are a patriot, you are a hero, whether somebody recognizes it or not, you're a hero, just like Jay. Jay is a hero. We did something, and I believe January 6th, the events of that day, I believe were providence by God, and I think it had to happen to draw our nation back to a point where we could start to reel it back in again. And I think the evidence is that is the election of 2024. So I think it was essential. And yes, we suffered, and we're still suffering for the ramifications from that day and the arrest and the onslaught in the media. I mean, I was crucified in the media, especially in the beginning. But every time my name pops up, there's always the left-wing media that wants to say you're a terrorist or you're an insurrectionist or you're unpatriotic, and you kind of got to let that roll off your back. But to any J6ers out there, just remember, guys, you were put in a situation that was really difficult, and every one of you guys is a hero and a patriot, and hopefully your suffering diminishes over time, and I pray ours does too.
Joe, can I say something?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's you know what? Write to Trump and tell him you lost your pension and everything, and see what he'll do. I mean, it's worth a try. It's absolutely worth a try. I mean, give it a shot. What the heck?
The other thing we should remember is I'd like to see justice for Ashley Babbitt and the other young lady that lost her life in there. We all seem to, that goes by the wayside, but there was a price that was, paid by them, and I would like to see, just justice for them. And I appreciate all the heroes of January 6th.
Well, both Jay and Joseph, hey, thank you very much. God bless you both. And thank you. You're heroes. You guys are heroes. And it's not like 500,000 people didn't descend on Washington, D.C. that day to hear Trump for no reason. We knew that election was stolen. And It was so obvious. And the now they're saying, hey, Biden had 18 million more votes than Kamala. What happened? Well, we know what happened. There was just massive cheating. And that's why I was there, Brian. That's why you were there. That's why we were all there. And we're just trying to make a statement. But thank you again.
Hey, Joe, can I interject one finalizing thought? So putting together, as you can tell, sometimes I'm coming up with ideas and presenting them a little off the cuff. Part of my reason for bringing up that expression that my friend uses, that Black America is used as a petri dish for communist bad ideas, is to drive home the point that we are our brothers and sisters keepers. I don't care who you are, what your dynamic or circumstances, rich, poor, black, white, we're Americans. And part of the message that I take from that is that we stick up for each other. And the more we're able to do that and hold on to that, even as they attack the image of our flag and go after our very flag as being somehow some sort of bad, and they attack everything about the pillars of our society, focus on your brothers and sisters. Patriotism is what can get us through this. God and prayers and patriotism. And people like Joe and Jay having the wherewithal and tenacity, and many, many more like them, to stand up for truth and fight for our values. So thank you.
Thank you, guys. God bless you very much. Again,
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Good saying there, Jonathan. Very good. All right. So again, thanks both of you. Appreciate it. Really glad that you could come on tonight, and it's just great hearing from you.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Yes.
Yeah. Have a good night.
God
Thank you
bless
again,
you.
guys.
You bet.
Thanks, Joe.
Well,
Joe.
Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks,
let's just go
Leonard.
a couple
Thank you.
thoughts. Anything, Brian, that you want to say?
Oh, and I can tell you. Well, I'll let Leonard tell you because he was the one that was orchestrating it. We did have a meeting on our property taxes. Leonard, why don't you tell him what the agreement was and where we're going?
Leonard, can we take a second?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Ken.
Hold on, Leonard. We'll that's yeah. It's
Hey, go ahead. Go ahead.
no. We just want to thank everybody for coming on, and make sure to check out all the places that we are on. We are on. Let's bring over OhioPoliticalNews.com, and we just brought in a couple new sweatshirts on our. If you go to OhioPoliticalNews/shop, the wave is in for Evic. So we got the shirts.
The Ramaswamy tsunami.
Yeah. Yes. And so we'll check those out at OhioPoliticalNews/shop. Also, make sure to also share this. Share this wherever you're watching on X. We're on X tonight, Rumble, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're at. Make sure to share this. We're all over. Sharing is caring, and please do that. We're also on Substack if you want to check us out over there. On Truth, I'll bring over our other ones, and then also on Locals.com. And thank you, my VA lady. We appreciate that. That's in the chat tonight. Thanks for everybody chatting tonight. But please check us out at all of these locations and all the different hoodies. We have also the other ones that we've started off with. Stating Lake Erie to Lake Ohio. We have the JD Vance hoodies.
I like that
everything else.
Ramaswamy. That's pretty clever. You guys like that?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, he's
So
the tsunami with his head in there. Yeah, so that's a good one. I like the color of that.
Hey, Joe Miller, am I still on by chance?
What's
yeah,
that again?
you're on.
Okay.
Yeah,
hey,
you're still on.
what do Jay and I have to do to get one of these mugs you guys were touting earlier?
The only thing you have to do, and we would gladly send it to you, and I think Jay may have already knocked off, is you have to text me a mailing address.
Okay.
And we will get you a mug, and we really appreciate you coming out
All right.
on the show and everything. And it will be a mug that you will cherish. You will cherish the mug, not only because it says Ohio Political News, but we do a mug shot. I think Jonathan, show him the mug shot, will you?
There's
Look
my
at
mug
that.
shot.
So, but we won't put Jonathan's mug shot on there. We'll put your mug shot on there.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. We'd
Well, I'll
be
send you
more
a better picture than that.
we'll be more than happy to send it to you. We really would appreciate it. Yeah.
I'm ready to move to Ohio, man. I tell you what, Pennsylvania might lose a couple people here.
Are you near the let's see, are you near the western side of PA?
No, I'm near Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Hershey.
Yeah,
Nothing
it's
wrong
in the
with that.
central.
Yeah, central. Okay.
What's that?
Hershey. It just has a
Hershey's
nice
where the
sound
money's
to
at.
it.
I'm way up. Yeah, no, I'm out. I'm surrounded by corn.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's a lot. PA is like Ohio. You have some really big cities, and then you have a lot of just rural area. So, yeah.
But you guys got some great whitetail deer out there too, man. You've got some monsters.
we got deer everywhere. Now with all, I almost hit a deer coming into my into my driveway one time, and I live in the city, and I almost got hit a deer just coming right into my parking lot. But anyhow, well, thanks again, Joseph. We're gonna
Yes, Jay.
appreciate it. We'll get you that mug. We'd be more than happy to get that mug out to you. We won't have any coffee in it though, but we'll get the mug to you. All right.
I'll take care of the coffee.
You have to make your own
Have a
coffee
good
on
one.
that.
I'm trying to figure out how to leave.
Thanks,
this thing, and
Joseph.
I don't know how.
You're trying to figure out how to leave. I don't know. I can't help you on that one. What's up, Leonard? What you guys been doing?
I'm going to make it quick so you guys can check out. But I pulled the steering committee together, and it took us quite a bit of time. But we had to do some work to actually try to get everybody on consensus with the scope. And inevitably, what we came up with is that we have no choice but to do the right thing, and that is just to eliminate the property tax completely. No carve outs, no rich, no poor. It's just what Jonathan was saying. You do what's right for everybody. So we're at the point right now where we're trying to put together the initiative petition, and then once that gets approved, we get we got to get our 1,000 signatures to get the ball rolling, and then once that's done, then we can go into actually the ballot, get it on the ballot, and then talk about the process for actually getting all the signatures and making this a reality. But it's a lot of work. We're just in the beginning stages. And our toughest challenge is going to be educating the populace, because we're so far entrenched in our communistic thinking. It's going to be a long haul, but I think we have a good foundation and a good set of recommendations that will be clear enough for people to understand and work with. So we'll keep you posted.
Yeah, I know
Yeah,
you
Leonard,
will. I know you will. You guys are something. You guys
Joe,
are
we're
hound
going to have
dogs.
some live streaming. We should tell the people about some live streaming. We are going to be in Canton. Yeah, there it is. We're going to live stream that event. And then I think a week or so later, we're going to be in Lorraine. We'll live stream an event where Leonard, myself, John Mara, and perhaps Keith Davey will be educating people on property taxes. So look forward to doing that.
Yeah, I look forward to those. You guys do a great job too. Your team, when you speak, it's very, very impressive, and it's very good, very good. So yeah, we're going to keep pushing away to get rid of that property tax. Too many people are losing their houses, and in Ohio, the property taxes are insane. In some of the cities and stuff, they're insane. We cannot afford it anymore. All right. Well, I'm going to just wrap it up. I'm going to say goodnight to everybody here, and thank you all, Jonathan, Leonard, Brian. Thank you, and you guys have a good night. Okay.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
You're the one.